again. But it's the only.
The crowds are going wild. It's Holly's birthday.
Thanks for that, Steve.
Happy birthday, Holly, again. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. No major accidents in your part of the world today. You've been here, your first driving lesson. How did that go?
Yeah, my first driving lesson went well. No major accidents, thankfully. Yeah, looking forward to learning because I was a bit nervous, but it was good.
Yeah, good stuff. Excellent. Okay, well, I'm sure you'll get plenty of birthday wishes in the chat as we talk about yesterday's game and look back at the last 7 days at Newcastle United. And first of all, yesterday's match. Wow. A 2-0 win, 7 games unbeaten. Eddie Howe must be in line now for the Manager of the Month award. How did you make, what did you make of Newcastle's performance yesterday?
I thought Newcastle played absolutely brilliantly. Definitely deserved that win. Brentford weren't even in the game for me, and I felt like 2-0 was honestly a good result for Brentford because I think we could have went on to win that 3-4, even 5-0. But obviously towards the end of the game, we just kept possession in the middle of the park and didn't really go to score that third and fourth because we didn't need to. And fair play, I thought across the pitch we did well. Midfield very, very good again. The defence very good. Dan Burn stood out again. In that centre-back role. Keeper didn't have a lot to do. Strikers, they did what they needed to do. Joelinton with that goal as well, absolutely fantastic. I think that's one of the best goals we've ever seen from Joelinton. Certainly needed it, would have helped his confidence so much. And, I don't think there's anything you could say wrong about that match, to be honest. Brilliant win.
Yeah, superb win. Some great individual performances. And, Ryan Fraser again as well stood out, ran himself into the ground.
Yeah, Fraser, I gave my man of the match because purely his work rate was just it was unmatched work rate, unmatched. It was just, honestly, it was brilliant because every single minute of that game, you looked at Fraser and he was constantly doing something. He was getting into positions. He was asking for the ball. He was telling other players what to do. He was organising people. He was just fantastic. And I think that's exactly what you want to see, players like that stepping up and really just taking on that role of being a captain, because although you've got one captain on the pitch, there's other players that will take that role. We missed that a little bit with Kieran Trippier being out of the side, but Ryan Fraser has certainly stepped up.
What did you make of Chris Wood yesterday?
Chris Wood, I think he did well. I thought that there was many chances that he could have scored. Very unlucky not to. And I don't know how he didn't. I just feel so bad for him because I think if one of those chances had gone in, it would have really changed the game. And, that would have boosted his confidence massively. And he'd probably go on a bit of a run after that. I think he just needs that goal. But certainly an improvement because he struggled a little bit in the previous game. A lot of people weren't happy. But, he did very, very well, running into space, constantly wanting the ball. Unfortunately, again, I think we're just seeing that issue where he's a little bit too slow. And I think you get a partner alongside him and that'll hopefully solve that issue.
We got half an hour of Bruno yesterday. What was your take on him? I mean, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. It's difficult to get an impression of him, but half an hour yesterday. And the stat that came out on social media in the last few hours is that he actually had the same amount of touches in that half an hour that he was on the pitch as all but 2 of the Brentford players.
Wow, I hadn't seen that stat, so that is a brilliant stat. We got to see half an hour Bruno. I was really happy to see him because obviously we've seen little bits here and there, not really enough to judge him. That was a good spell, and I think he did well. Again, he's another player that looks like he really, really wants to fight to be in that team, constantly trying to get into the positions to get the ball. And I think whenever he did have the ball, he did well, didn't really misplace a pass. So, to be honest, I think obviously he'll probably get a bit more game time, and I think he looks like he's going to be a top player within the midfield. I was impressed with that half an hour.
Joelinton's relationship with the supporters as well. I mean, it's gone full circle. He was derised, he was ridiculed, he was slated by, many people, including us on this show. Biggest waste of money ever in the club's history. A Brazilian that can't play football, just, numerous things that have been said about him on this program. But the U-turn, as we've mentioned before, has been fantastic. But to get the goal yesterday and then to run the full length of the pitch and celebrate with the supporters who were waving numerous Brazilian flags. And then at the end of the game, to be serenaded off, with his song. And literally the last man off the pitch, he hung around about 5 minutes afterwards and just took the applause.
Yeah, it was great to see. And when Joelinton scored, they sung his song, and I think that must have went on for like 10 minutes. It seemed to go on forever. He was constantly, hyping up the crowd, and I think he's absolutely thriving now. It's a brilliant relationship between the fans and Joelinton, because I think everyone wanted to see him do well. And for so long he struggled, and now that he is getting into good form in his correct position within the midfield, I think people are just delighted. And honestly, I think you could probably now say he is definitely worth that 40 million price tag, because he's probably the best player that we've got in midfield.
There's no doubt about it. And I mean, he could end up playing for Brazil, the national team. We could end up having a Brazilian pairing in that centre midfield. It's, stranger things have happened.
I would love to see it. And why has he not got a chance? He's still fairly young, and he's in the top of his form at Newcastle. If Newcastle start doing well in the league, then I think he could be looked at.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing to think as well that Joe Willock, who, ultimately had a pretty poor start of the season, is now starting to hit the kind of form that saved Steve Bruce's season. And interesting to hear that he'd been going through a few personal issues after he moved from Arsenal. I'm not sure whether you read the article, but when he was, surplus to requirements at Arsenal, it clearly upset him. He moved to the northeast. But instead of living in the city centre and in and around, the temptations that our beautiful city has, he was living in Northumberland. So he felt quite isolated. So it appears that, that has been the reason to his drop in form. He's been feeling lonely. He's been feeling homesick. And I think we forget how young he is, but he's now starting to discover the form that he had at the back end of the season. And he's clearly happier in his home life. And, it's clear that Eddie Howe has come in, he's assessed the situation and changed things for the better.
Definitely, and I think that does make all of the difference. And as well, obviously now he's got that little bit more competition within midfield, obviously with Bruno coming into the side, which will probably encourage him to play a little bit better and up his standard. And I think he has done well. He was great again in that game, really, really trying hard. So it's good to see, instead of players kind of taking the huff when we're bringing in new people and stuff and thinking, I'm going to be replaced and just giving up, there's players that are really stepping up and saying, actually, I'm going to make it difficult for you to get into the team and I'm going to fight for my place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Great to see. And that's the difference, isn't it, Holly? It's teamwork now. There's a unity there. And we've seen not once, but not twice, but 3 times now, after a special result, after a game where team has been the key, we've seen a team photograph in the dressing room, and one or two or a few of the players start sharing it, and it's great to see them like unified, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. Everyone looks so happy, and I think credit to Eddie Howe for that, because it's a massive part that he's played with unifying the dressing room. And to be honest, I think arguably in my entire lifetime supporting the club, this has probably been the most united the squad's been, because although there's been times when they've been together, i.e. when we're in the championship and stuff, there's still been issues there because there's problems with the board and everything. But I think now everyone's really on the same page and we're all striving for the same thing, which is ultimately success.
And of course, we were privileged yesterday to be sitting not too far away from a certain Kieran Trippier. And I think what impresses about him was he was living and breathing every kick of the ball like we were.
Yeah, it was brilliant, because obviously you don't get the chance to kind of see Trippier in the stands often, but to see the way that he reacted to like how the team were playing, the goals, he was so into the game, checking how we would be doing in the league table and stuff. It was like he was a Newcastle fan, and I think that says everything you need to know about Kieran Trippier, because he wants the best for the club just as much as the fans do, and that's exactly who we need in the squad.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I mean, I actually said at one point to him, I turned and says, well, we're 14th if it stays like this. He went, oh, don't say that. Don't say that. Wait till the end of the game. He's getting so carried away with it. And as I say, he's only been here such a short space of time, but he gets it. You can see that there's a clear understanding and a love for the club already. And it's great. It's not about the money with him. It's definitely not about the money. And he's a big part of things to come. That is for certain. I'm going to pick out Emil Kraft as one of my potential favourites yesterday after rewatching the game, Holly. As I've often said to you, you get a different perspective when you come back. You watch it. We're watching it live. We, normally don't get the benefit of replays when we're at the game either. So it's always difficult to look at a key event and say, or look at a player. But Kraft, bearing in mind that, he dropped the clanger the week before to give away the free kick, which led to the goal. He then got a lot of stick on social media. He had a solid performance yesterday, Holly.
Yeah, he did. To be honest, I thought it was harsh, the criticism that he got against West Ham, because although, like you say, he did give away that free kick, there was things he did that was silly. I still think he was trying, and obviously he just came back into the side. But I thought yesterday he did well, a lot better than he did against West Ham. And again, it was just that effort. I think even getting up the pitch, he made an impact. You can't fault Kraft at all.
No. I mean, see, it was a team performance. You picked out Dan Burn earlier on, really good. I think the only person you couldn't judge yesterday was probably Martin Dubravka. He didn't have a great deal to do.
Yeah, I think there's only one save that sticks out in my mind that he made, which was a very good save. But apart from that, he wasn't really tested. I think we had most of the ball. I haven't checked the possession stats, but I would imagine that it was heavily in our favour. It felt that way anyway.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It was just, look, a positive day out. A great performance, and another 3 points in the bag. Newcastle United will be very happy with that, and the fans certainly were, the 1,700 or so who travelled down. And it was great to see on social media last night. You've probably seen it if you're on Twitter or Facebook. The images have been shared quite a bit. But great to see Darren Curry's flotilla of barges going down the Thames again, and a fantastic day out for those fans.
Yeah, it was great to see some interesting videos, people having a good time, enjoying the match. It's brilliant, just something a bit different, I suppose, as well, gets people up for the game, and even more unique as well with the fact that it was such a small away end.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was just a good day. I'm glad we managed to get down there. Although a bit of a nightmare for us coming back. We had to get a replacement bus, which we knew about from Doncaster, but then the replacement bus broke down. So then we had to get on a replacement bus. Not the ideal end of the day. Me and Holly are both knackered after that journey. I did feel for the guys who were on our bus, by the way, who booked a flight down because it was cheaper, and the flight got cancelled. So they ended up on the train. And when they got on our bus, they said, "You don't want to be on here. It'll probably break down." Never a true word spoken. So yeah, just another story for those books that we'll possibly do in the future about trips on Newcastle games. It was absolutely fantastic. But another day out, another 3 points. That is all that matters. Allan Saint-Maximin, Holly, we'll talk a little bit about him before we come to the questions in the chat. What's your take been on his vacation, if you like, from Newcastle to try and get fit? Has it concerned you? I've seen one or two people on social media trying to make a big thing of it. I just think he's a way to get fit, and he'll be back, and I think he'll be available for selection next week.
I think the issue with it was that there's not a lot of transparency around it. People aren't really sure exactly why he's went to France. There was rumours that he didn't want to travel for the West Ham game, even though he was given that opportunity. He went to France the next day. I don't think people know the full story of what's going on, and neither do I. Obviously, he has got some injury there, which Eddie Howe said in a couple of press conferences. He said it before the West Ham game, and he said it leading up to the Brentford game. So there is clearly some issue there, which he needs to obviously sort out. And hopefully that trip to France, and he is doing his training, which we've seen snippets of on his social media, that does get him back to full fitness and he'll come back better. But it is a bizarre situation. And I think, again, that's what happens when you don't really know what's going on. People just kind of make stories, and one thing leads to another, and it becomes something it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. Social media generates these kind of clicks. And, I put a tweet out earlier on just saying, I can't understand why some fans, push that kind of narrative out. Some people might hear something, or they might get an indication that something's not right or something's going wrong, and just leave it. Don't put it out there. We don't need it. The team's united. We've won 4 out of the last 7. We've drawn the other 3. We're unbeaten in 7 games. We've got a great chance against Brighton on Saturday to make it 8, and further claw our way away from the relegation positions. But don't stop, stirring the pot. Just leave it. Just leave it. You might know something, but sometimes silence is the best route for you. Keep your mouth shut. Keep off social media. Don't put something out there that's going to generate it. And the press haven't put anything out. If you would think that if there was a problem with the SM, then one of the newspapers would report it. So just leave it. That's all I'm saying. Just leave it. But look, we're all positive. We've got to be positive, and let's just keep it like that. Okay, we'll dive into the chat. Tom Dixon says, question: are you confident that Eddie Howe will get manager of the month for February? It's only down to Howe and Klopp. If Eddie Howe doesn't get it, Tom, it's an absolute travesty, Holly. I don't know whether you agree, but he's got to get it.
I 100% agree. I mean, you look back to the first half of the season, many people, including me, thought we were dead and buried because that's how it felt. We hadn't won a game all season until something ridiculous like I can't even remember when it was. It was like November, December, something like that. And then the fact that we're unbeaten this year, we literally haven't lost a league game this year, is phenomenal. And Eddie Howe deserves massive credit for that. Winning games away in London and stuff, it's brilliant, and I don't think there's anyone better this month for Manager of the Month than Eddie Howe.
No, I think he deserves it. 100% he deserves it, and I think he'll get it as well. Maybe it comes down to today's game, Liverpool versus Chelsea in the League Cup final. If Liverpool win that, he might just edge it, Mr. Klopp. But we'll see. I think Eddie Howe deserves it, and let's hope he gets it. Tom says happy birthday, as does Tom Dixon and Tom Lynch. You're going to get a lot of these, Holly. I do feel. Trulls, happy birthday, Holly. The same from John from QTech, happy birthday. And Rachel says happy birthday.
Thanks, everyone.
Very good. Excellent stuff. Nice to get that. We Are United says, Holly, on your birthday, may your spirit be enriched in light, love, and hope for a prosperous new year ahead.
Hope so. Sounds good.
Yeah. Yano says, no offense, Steve, but it won't be long before we're watching our team instead of your podcast on Cup Final Day.
I'll tell you what, I'd much rather watch a Cup Final, I'm not going to lie.
Oh my God. Don't believe it. I guess, because it's Liverpool, Chelsea, you can have it on the background. But if it's Newcastle, I don't think I'll be here, anyway. I'd like to think I'll be there watching the game. But we'll see. We'll see. But I get where you're coming from. Bruno is class. What a great job he did when coming on. Trolls, I would agree. Bernard says, good afternoon, everyone. What a great result that was for us yesterday. Oh, the dizzy heights of 14th. Yeah, it is unbelievable. It really is. Vince Smith says, happy birthday, young'un. Many happy returns, Holly, from Gary Milliken. And Brian Johnson says, happy birthday, Holly. Tony Bull says, hi, Steve. Great show yesterday. Appreciate all that you do, but could you possibly get Sir Keith on a few times if possible? Keith wanted to take a time out of the limelight, Tony. So ultimately, we did try and get him on the other week when he was abroad, but the connection wasn't great. I'm sure he will return. We're going to have a couple of old faces returning to the show over the next couple of weeks. There'll be a few ex-players, one or two people who haven't been on the platform for a while are also going to come back on. I had a conversation with somebody today as well. So keep peeled, Tony. You never know. Keith might come back on the show at some point. Tom says, great applause for Eriksen yesterday when he came on. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? I mean, we stood up, as did all the Newcastle fans, and applauded him on the pitch. I think, it really hit home with a lot of people, how brave it is, I guess, to come back.
Definitely, because he obviously suffered, that horrendous incident within the Euros, and a lot of people felt like maybe that would be the end of Eriksen in football, which was such a shame because he was such a talented player. But obviously health comes first, and then to see him come back to the Premier League, sign for Brentford and get that start, it was so nice to see. Brilliant for Eriksen, and I think that he did play well when he came on as well.
Okay, great applause for Eriksen. Yeah, you were right, Tom. Vince Smith says, Big Joe, so emotional to see him run to the fans to celebrate with them. I would agree. Jeff just says, did you enjoy your day at Brentford, Holly?
Yeah, really enjoyed my day. It was good. Good
stuff. Jeff, why do you keep posting flowers? I've got to ask you that, by the way. You keep sending flowers. I mean, is it photography? Is it your photography? I wasn't sure if I was missing something, but I've had a flower off Jeff each day today. They haven't gone unnoticed. So just want to know, Jeff, is there a message in this? Is there something you're trying to convey, or you're simply just sharing your wonderful photography? Answers ASAP. Tom says, I thought Bruno played well. I think he should have scored yesterday. Yeah, possibly. I think Wood played well, and he's doing his job to get us up the pitch. Vince, I agree. Wood might not be getting the goals, but he's certainly creating a lot of space, creating a lot of trouble for the opposition defenders. And I think we'll really reap the benefit if and when Callum Wilson returns. That is going to be the key, getting somebody in alongside him. Tom says, Bruno looked cool, classy and comfortable yesterday. Joelinton deserves player of the month, says Trulls. What do you think about that, Holly?
I don't think he'll get Player of the Month, but I think certainly, not even just Player of the Month. I know he's never going to win it, but he could be well with the chance, for Player of the Season, because I think in terms of improvement, there's nobody in the Premier League that has improved more than Joelinton. And yes, he has been good this month, but I think he's been great probably since October.
He could be worth 40 million now, Joelinton, says Mark Illingworth. I've got to be perfectly honest. This week I dropped an email to Steve Nixon, and I apologized to him because Steve Nixon was right. There was a player in there. From my perspective, I don't mind holding my hands up if I'm wrong. And Joelinton is a player. He's a proper player. And, from our perspective, what do we know? We were wrong. Steve Bruce was playing him out of position. He was at a club where he wasn't getting trained, adequately. And a little bit of coaching, a little bit of training, and we've now got somebody who is probably worth the money that we paid for him. So happy days. And he was never a striker. He was never a number 9. So yeah, look, you can hold your hands up and say it wrong, and you've got to say well done to Steve Nixon for actually seeing something in him, because it's something that we clearly didn't. But well done to Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall as well for finding something inside him and creating a player. Could go on to do great things. So fingers crossed. Craig says, did Big Joe not say he wanted to play for a top 6 club and everyone laughed? But now he knows we're going to be in that top 6.
It is ironic.
It is. I absolutely love Joelinton, says Rachel. Think I heard that Joelinton thanked the fans for being on his back to improve. What a great man and player. We saw an interview, didn't we, when we were on our way back last night with Big Joe. And it was good to hear him. I mean, very rare have we heard him speak. I mean, his English was coming on great, wasn't it?
Yeah, usually obviously does his interviews in his language and then has an interpreter, but I think that was his first one that he did in English, and spoke really well, speaking well about the fans and just saying how happy he is as well. And I think you can tell how much it means to him. I mean, the way he celebrated that goal, you could just see that he was so desperate to get that goal, and when he did get it, it just meant the world.
Geek Mafia, thank you for becoming a member today. Says home life being settled is huge with reference to Joe Willock. And very happy birthday, Holly, says Paul Gallant. Thank you, Paul. L. Stapleton have said before, Howe doesn't need manager of the month. He has us behind him all the way. And Eddie Howe and his team should get some of the acclaim, but the manager has got the whole squad believing that there is something very special on the horizon. Gary, you're right. Listening to Ryan Fraser's interview after the game as well, I mean, a lot of people making something out of the fact that, Fraser left Bournemouth and, maybe they didn't get on. Maybe there wasn't a relationship there between the two guys, but he couldn't have spoke any more highly on Match of the Day of his manager and said that, the difference has been amazing, and little things that he's done since he came into the club, and motivational messages that they've laid on the wall when they've come in, just different things at different days. It's just a different football club. It is amazing to hear that kind of, stuff come from a player, and it's fantastic. It really, really is, isn't it, Holly?
Yeah, it is. And when you've got players like Ryan Fraser coming out and speaking well about the manager, it just gives you even more confidence, if you didn't already have enough, that Eddie Howe is certainly the right man for the job. And I think Eddie Howe, to be fair to him, has always spoke well about his players. He's never thrown any players under the bus. And I think there's a respect there, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's the key. It's respect, isn't it? It is. It's respect between players and management. And he's getting the best out of some of the players that we thought would never pull on a Newcastle shirt again. The likes of John Joe Shelby, for instance, and Joelinton, who we've already mentioned. And Tyndall deserves quite a bit of praise as well. Trolls says, to be honest, the whole team deserves a pat on the back, except Kraft. He will have to be happy with a handshake. Yeah, Kraft did well yesterday, and it's a team. It's a team, and you can see it's a team, and that's a great thing. Steve says happy birthday, Holly, Bonnie Lass. Tom says happy birthday, Holly. William says I remember when Holly said that we were going down, and yeah, she did, 100%. And I even said towards the last couple of weeks before we started putting this run together that I felt it was all over, and rightly so. We did look as if we were doomed. Holly has just been more realistic, whereas I've been more pessimistic throughout the season. And bearing in mind, we've gone all the way through pre-season to every game. We've seen them play at every game, home and away, and we can give a good opinion on what we think. And ultimately that the performances and the results told you that we were going down. But it's just a massive U-turn, isn't it? It's a massive change, Holly.
Yeah, it is. And there's nobody happier than me that we've made that U-turn. I don't think anyone wanted us to go down, but it felt like there was no way out of it. One thing that I did always say, though, was that the January transfer window would be pivotal. That would probably decide whether we were doomed or whether, we would have a chance. And I think we recruited very well in January, better than I ever expected. And I think those players have made that difference. And if we didn't sign them, I think it could have been a different story. But fair play, the club's done everything right and we've got ourselves out of this mess massively.
Big Dan Burn, Taggart and Trips have been amazing signings, would agree. And as I say, Trippier yesterday was just 100% behind the team. He was in his tracksuit, on his crutches, sitting next to us, watching and playing every ball, and then straight down into the dressing room, wasn't he, after the game, just to celebrate with the players and obviously get a photograph, which was great. He also says, happy birthday, Holly. Gary says, I've not seen togetherness like this for a long time. Long may it continue. Tell says, happy birthday, Holly. Great day yesterday. Looks like you were in the posh seats. I was roughing it with our brilliant support. The best in the world. Well, yeah, we're not going to lie. It was a bit of a birthday treat for Holly yesterday, which was great. And it was just nice to be in the stands, sitting watching it from a different perspective. Although we did miss the chance to sing and jump up and down like lunatics, like we usually do. But it was nice to see it from a different perspective, Holly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. There's nothing better than being in the away end, but sometimes it is nice to have a little bit of a treat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Not getting you couldn't get used to it though. You're more for standing there singing and shouting and bawling. I know that 100%. So, Tom says, great statement by Amanda. We will never sell Trippier as long as he's able to play. That is real respect. And I mean, there was a great article in The Athletic. You showed me it, Holly. I'm not a subscriber at The Athletic, but you managed to get a copy of it and you shared it with us. And I have managed to read it in its entirety now. And some pretty good, pretty standout things in that statement, wasn't there? For instance, the Trippier line was great, but the stuff from Meerdad about the ground and saying it was the cathedral on the hill and, that they were never going to leave St. James's Park. They would look at the opportunity of building on it. I mean, again, more communication from these owners, in the last few months than there has been in 14 years from the previous owner.
Yeah, I massively enjoyed reading that interview. I read it on the way down to Brentford on the train, and it was just brilliant because I think obviously we all love the new owners, but you read things like that and it just really does make you think, wow, these people really do understand, they do get it, they know what they're doing, and they have got the best interests of the fans. And like you mentioned, the standout thing from that interview for me was the St. James's Park comment, because I think the only concern I had was leaving St. James's Park. I would have been totally against it. No matter how much money it brought in, how big our stadium was, I did not want to leave St. James's Park. And the fact that we're going to be staying there, I think, is key, because it's part of our history, I think we're one of the very few clubs left that's never moved ground. Your great-grandparents, your grandparents, your parents went there, and now you do. And I think it'll be such a shame to get rid of that. So that's staying. It's brilliant. It spoke very well about Eddie Howe in that interview as well, which I think, again, is another positive thing. Speaking about players, just positive vibes all around, reassuring everyone, the people that work for them and the fans.
The League Cup final is getting ready to kick off. Alisson, Konate, Milner, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Minamino, Diego Jota, Tismiskas, Origi and Elliott starting for Liverpool. Going to be a good game, this, to be honest. And kicking off 4:30 on Sky Sports main event live. If there's any goals in the final half hour, I shall let you know. Michael Wallace says, happy old man here. The last few weeks have been incredible. After watching Bruno yesterday, it confirmed 5 good window signings. Roll on Brighton next week. I'd like Eddie to add Jeff and Holly to his backroom staff, says Tony Bull. They'd improve us even more. Fancy that?
Well, I could imagine there'd be a lot of ranting at times, but a lot of celebrating. I mean, sure, why not? Can't see it happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess the positivity gang has grown. We're not getting relegated. We always said it. Says Brian Johnson, and let's not forget as well, our friend Albaleed said we are not getting relegated. Whoop whoop Toonami, says Lee. Good to have you on, mate. If you want to watch Lee's show, News of the World with me, Patricia Devlin and Sean Atwood, check it out. Just search for the playlist News of the World. Well worth a watch. We talk about what's going on in the Ukraine. We talk about who your favorite Batman is. It's quite a wide ranging program and well worth a watch if you're into something a little bit different. Gary says, "Ho, Steve, have you been promoted? You're not in the kitchen." Yeah, you know what? I'm knackered. I'm shattered from the bus journey yesterday. Well, it's a long day anyway. When you get up sharp, you go on the train, you go to the match, you come back. It's, as anyone knows, London, it's one of our longest trips. But then obviously delays on the bus, etc. I didn't get into bed at 1 o'clock, and then I was getting to that age now. You see, up at 6, 5 hours kip. That's all I had. So Holly, as Holly knows, she was going, I suppose you go in the gym in the morning. Yep, I went to the gym. Start the day off well, but I have knackered myself out now. So I've got my slippers on. I'm in the living room and I'm going to watch the football when me and Holly finish today. But I actually said to Holly, and Holly, you can confirm this. I said, I've got Mick Lowe's on Sunday. You can have the day off. And what did you say?
I said, I'll do the show.
There you go. So people thinking I'm a hard taskmaster demanding that Holly does the show. I'm certainly not like that. I said, have the day off, but you wanted to do it, which is great. If we got beat 4-0 off Brentford, maybe it would have been a different story, but no, we won. Is it in Rachel, the positivity cult that you started on here is definitely working. She went, it is indeed, Brian Johnson. We've always had the faith. Great to see you both enjoying yesterday, says Lee. Yeah, it was fantastic, mate. Great. It was good. It was good as well, Holly. I mean, I've got to be perfectly honest. For me, meeting players is not really something over the last 14 years, especially, it's never interested me. But we obviously, because we came out a little bit later, we had a drink with Ian Maxted, who we met an old friend of mine who I used to go to the match with years ago. And we came out the ground, and the door we came out just happened to be next to the team coach, didn't it? And we managed to catch up with some of the players, which was great.
Yeah, it was. I think every Newcastle fan's probably met a player at some point, like coming out of the ground or whatever. I never have, because like even when I was little, I never used to go to the training ground or wait back after the match or anything. I used to just go to the match and leave. But that was the first time I'd actually managed to get a picture with a player, so I was really, really happy. And Matt Target as well, he was so nice. And Jacob Murphy, I think he had time for every single fan that was there.
Yeah, and I apologise for getting my photo with Dubravka, because that's the one you wanted to meet. But unfortunately, he went to the one side of the fence that I was on, and you were on the other side, and it just didn't work out. And he did say he was going to come back, and he didn't.
Yeah, he did. But I'll forgive him. He's still a good goalkeeper.
You'll forgive him. Okay, this is a wallpapering question from Jens. Holly, where have you got that wallpaper from?
It's not wallpaper, it's painted.
Oh, wow. Who did it?
My mum.
Your mum did what, the club crest as well?
Yeah.
Wow, well done, mum. God, she is multi-talented, your mum. There we go then. I guess she'll be watching on the big telly downstairs with your dad.
I hope not.
Hi guys, great show. Thank you, Michael. Yano said, I've said it many times before, but people who criticise players struggling to settle have never worked away from home. In a country where they don't speak the language, it is really difficult. It's a good point. ASM is purely about ASM. Will be an Arsenal player or Paris next year, one of those, not for us long term. What do you think about that, Holly?
I think that's probably referring to the type of attitude that he seems to show at times. And there's no doubt about it that he is one of the most kind of huffy players that is in that team. You know, he does have strops and stuff. You see it all the time on the pitch, which does frustrate a lot of people. But he is very, very talented. And I think he could play a massive part in the side, especially if Newcastle started to challenge at the top end of the league. I think he would be a key player within that side. But I think it's up to him. I think really now the ball's in his court. I think everyone wants the best. And if he steps up to the mark and plays the games and does well, then I think he will be part of that. If he doesn't and he takes huffs and stuff, then he won't. But I think now, I don't think he's done anything dramatically wrong. I think if he comes back after his injury and does well, then I think he will play a part in the future.
I've got to be honest. I agree with Trulls. How told us he was sent there? Why not believe how?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And I think it's all just, there's a rumor or something's got out or somebody said something. And I think it's just it's a load of rubbish. I think he's, I think he's okay. And I agree with you. I would build your team around somebody like ASM. You need a maverick. You know what I mean? You need somebody who's going to be unpredictable. You need a Tino. You need a Ginola. Well, now we've got ASM. You need a Ben Arthur. a Robert, somebody who can just do something completely out of the ordinary and give everybody a lift. And it's a squad game now, and not just a team game. And he knows that he's going to have to fight to get back in the team. That's going to be the best part about it. So yeah, watch this space. Okay, it's time for the ads.
Thanks to all our sponsors. First up, Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They are the boys to trust. They come up at the top of the Google network search. Thanks also to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go. Waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors 0191 389 7245. And to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks to Arcot Interiors, you can Google them and they come up at the top of the search list also. You can also find them on Heaton Road, and they are currently hiring and looking for fitters. So contact Arcot Interiors if you are available to help them with that particular trade. qtechshop.co.uk are the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and also the guys who run our website. Jab Signature, you can find them at jabsignature.co.uk. Thanks to Media Arts for all of our video editing. And thank you to newworkwear.com, the specialists in the supply and branding of clothing for the workplace, for providing me with my new jacket. And if you want to subscribe to the show, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week and we do some true crime stuff as well. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video, click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to leave a question. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you put your phone over this QR code, it will take you straight to our website and you become a Newcastle NUFC Matters member. You get a cup, you get a pen, you get a scarf, and entered into our monthly draw where you can win some fantastic prizes. We also do live events, and each pre-match and post-match you can find us at the Dog and Parrot, and Super Mac gives us a talk about the game ahead. There is good beer, and there is good music, and there is a pool table, and kids are welcome. So get yourself along to the Dog and Parrot each match day in Newcastle City Centre. We also support the food bank on this channel, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. You can find the Matchday Bucket, which is operational 365 days of the year, and you can make a virtual deposit. If you want to find us on Facebook, then just search NUFC Matters. We have a page and a group. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, search Steve Wraith. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, search @Steve Wraith.
Okay, Tom says, would you play Maximin against Brighton on Saturday if he is fit, or put him on the bench, Holly?
Put him on the bench, because I think that he doesn't deserve to just come straight back into the side. Nobody deserves to be dropped. They've all done very well. So certainly bring him on. When there's a need to make a substitution, and then he can fight for his place back in the team.
Yep, okay. ASM shouldn't walk straight back into the team if and when fit, says Gary. And Geek Mafia Club says, ASM is a top player from afar. Would think it good for him to get a bit of sun and recovery and come back flying and fully fit. Lee says, things are great. I'm looking at 11th. Eddie's gotten a grip of the place. Class act on and off. I think there's going to be a couple of more bumps in the road, Lee. I've got to be honest. I think 11th or 12th, though, is possible. It really just depends on whether Newcastle can go into the games against the likes of Chelsea, for example, which is in a couple of weeks' time, Southampton, which is that midweek fixture, Everton away, and come back with anything. 3 key away games coming up. Got to beat Brighton. Beat Brighton. You've got some great breathing space. You've then got 3 tough away games back to back in the space of 7-8 days. If we can come back with a return of 4 points out of a possible 9 in those away games, I think a position that you're talking about is possible. A lot can happen. Newcastle are no mugs now, and you've got to hope as well that we're going to get a couple of these players back. Although at the moment it seems as if we're not missing people. We're getting that bit of luck, and I mean, we got the VAR decision again, Holly, yesterday, didn't we? With that horrendous challenge where Mike Dean's face was a picture. When he had to go against his own decision and realised that he'd made a big cock up, and it was actually a red card and a free kick to Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, is 10th or 11th, you know, do you think that's realistic?
It's not impossible. I wouldn't say we'll get that high, because I think we will probably go on a spell where we will lose a couple more games, because we have got some hard fixtures, particularly like in the kind of April, May months. You know, we've got still like Man City and stuff to play. But I think we could probably get 13th, 14th, because I think 13th is what I'd predict now, because I think that's our lucky number. We always seem to finish 13th. We have so many times over the past few seasons. But look, it is possible, and that sounds crazy to be saying now, because I think everyone would have snapped your hand off for 17th now. But we have got that Brighton game coming up, a couple of more winnable fixtures. If we get all the points we need out of those, then we can afford to lose those games.
Big Joe for Player of the Season, says Michael Slater, and happy birthday, Holly. Player of the Season? I mean, we're getting awards, you know, the back end of the season now. Is it too early to say Big Joe should get it?
No. I think Joelinton, unless someone dramatically changes around and absolutely has a blinder for the rest of the season, then I think Joelinton, there's nobody that comes close to him in terms of just how much effort they put in, how much they've improved, their performance, everything. I think Joelinton's certainly got a chance for Player of the Season, and I hope he gets it.
Mark says, I don't think the League Cup final should have anything to do with the Manager of the Month award, as it's Premier League award, I think. Okay, good point. Tim says, happy birthday, Holly. I'm gutted. I predicted the last 2 games without putting a bet on and witnessed on the shows. Yeah, Tim, that's usually the way. Unfortunately, you'll predict the next one, it'll be wrong, and you'll have stuck a bet on. Did Big Dave have tomato sauce on his birthday cake, Holly, says Andrew?
Well, I don't have a birthday cake, so not on my birthday cake. And if he did do that, I'd be quite annoyed. But would he put it on his own birthday cake? Probably.
I don't know why, but I can imagine Dave having this, like a big Star Wars cake, like a Chewbacca cake, and just loads of tomato sauce all over it. I can just imagine it. I don't know why, it's just come to us, Holly. You know what I'm like? I just say things that come out of my head. Sean, good afternoon, good evening. He says, with Joelinton's form, is it mad to think he could get a Brazil call up? And how good do you think we can get under Howe? I don't think it's mad at all. I really, really don't. I think Brazil could come calling. I mean, they're going to be watching Bruno, Holly, and they can't fail to be impressed with, Joelinton.
Yeah, Joelinton, I think everyone can just see how good he's been. You've got fans of other Premier League clubs as well now that are even saying, like, everyone wrote him off. They said he was hopeless, and now he's one of the best midfielders, we've seen in a long, long time. So I'd love to see him get that Brazil call up. And look, how old is he? Like 24? There's plenty of years for him to get into that team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You forget how young he is. He's actually just young. And I think, there's 1 or 2 people, not many, have defended him over the years and said, he's young, he learn, get him played in the position that he should be played in. And yeah, some people were right. Some people were wrong. In fact, most of us were wrong. We're just pleased that he's playing for us and playing so well. Tim says Fraser is like David Batty with the same work ethic. He's class. Yeah, and he is. He's a central midfield player, and he's a difficult player to play against. Maybe some curry sauce on too, says Trulls onto the birthday cake. Maybe there we go. A Chewbacca birthday cake with some curry sauce and some tomato sauce. And of course that segues well. It does really, doesn't it? It segues nicely into our regular section, and we're going to ask people to send us some more horrendous rate war plates, because people are sending some nice ones. But anyway, we'll put music on. So, Rate War Plate, where we ask you to send in some dishes, and the best dishes will get voted in, the worst dishes will get voted out, and then at the end of the season Holly and I will get a chance to sample them live on stage. So, I've got a couple of plates this week. The first one is something which stemmed from the conversation I had with James, and this was a couple of bourbon biscuits and gravy. Now, it turns out that James says in America, this is actually an American dish. Biscuits and gravy. Now, that looks completely different to the plate that we had last week, which was literally a plate full of gravy with some custard creams on. So I'm wondering whether we should, because we agreed to do that biscuits and gravy challenge, which is fine. We've got that in. That was a good one. But this one is actually an American version of it. Now, I've put this forward because it looks like spew for starters. But on top of that, Ollie, I think we should try this just for the sake of trying it. I'm curious as to what this tastes like. So if there's anybody who, and I know Mark Byers watches and he lives in America, obviously James does as well. If you watch it, guys, is there any way we can get this in the UK? Because I would like to try that, Holly. Would you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. But look, we'll add that in. Okay. So that's definitely going in. We need an American version if we can get it.
Did James tell you what it was? It looks like a scone with something on, but I don't know what the something is. It looks like vomit, like you said.
It does look like vomit, but I think we'll give it a go. Okay, so it only seems right on your birthday for a submission from your dad. Now, Holly, what on earth is this?
Well, I think, right, it's kebab meat, chips, chili sauce and gravy, I believe.
Right. Okay. So are we going to do that? Are we going to accept your dad's submission?
Well, yeah. Do you know what? My dad's been trying to get us to have gravy on a kebab for like years, and I just keep saying no. So I'll accept it because I feel like, it's time to try it.
Right, okay, there we go then. Well done, Dave. Your plate has made it. Can you hear? I bet he's yahooing downstairs. So there we go, Holly. Put that on the yes list, and we'll stick that gravy one in from America on as well. And that is it. But try and come up with some bizarre ones. We don't mind. We're going to go for it. And obviously, if it gets voted in, then we'll do it. But yeah, keep them coming in. But they've got to be bizarre. No more chips. No more, no more simple, easy ones. So the more bizarre, the better. Send them to me or Holly on Twitter. And did you know you shared your birthday with two of the players?
Yeah, I did know.
John Joe
and Callum.
And Callum Wilson, your dad's favourite player. So those two players both share their birthday with you, and you share your birthday with me brother. So there you go.
It's the birthday of legends.
It is. Interesting facts. Gary says, if and when Wood does score his first Newcastle goal, watch what the rest of the team do. Exactly, yeah. They're all together. There's no doubt about that. Jeff says, I was sending positive images at a difficult time for you and the family. I've stopped now. Thank you, Jeff. I knew there was something in it. Mate. And much appreciated. Mum is on the mend, which is great. She's had some Sunday dinner today. She was eating a couple of chocolates. She's still in the high dependency unit, but it is more positive. Next step, getting her on a ward. So let's just see how it goes this week. But a lot less stressful than it was 2 weeks ago. Believe you me, folks. We thought we'd lost her. So thank you for that, Jeff. Much appreciated. What an 18 months for Joelinton. He deserves the accolades now, says Tim. Vince says, loved Paddy Power. Interesting to see who gets second place to Joelinton in the Ballon d'Or. Very good. Pablo says, happy birthday, young Hull. Toon 2020 says, happy birthday, Holly. Have a good one. And I'm hoping we sign Matt Target on a permanent basis in the summer, says Tom Dixon. Yeah, I think we all do. He's fitted straight in, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. There is an option to buy there, isn't there?
I don't know. If there is, I can imagine them putting an extra few mil on.
Definitely, but honestly, I think he's worth it. I would definitely go and buy him because it's very rare you find players that just come into the side and fit straight in. And luckily, we've had a few in this window, but I think Target's been brilliant for us. And obviously, he's not going to be happy at Villa because, they've kind of just got rid of him for no reason, really, because I think their other alternative hasn't been very good when we saw him play against us. So I'd love to see Target come to Newcastle on permanent deal, and I think he'd be up for it as well.
Yeah, me too. Good to see Eriksen yesterday. Disgraceful that the Italian FA won't allow him to continue his job, says Pablo. I thought Emil Henry Christopher Kraft was tidy and quite enterprising, says Jeff. It's great that you know it. Is that his name? I wouldn't have even known that. Steve Bruce is doing a terrible job at West Brom, yet no noise. Yeah, I've forgotten about Steve Bruce, to be honest. Best left in the past. Brighton will be a tough game, but I think Big Dan will get the winner, says Craig. It will be a tough game, no doubt about it. A bit of a bogey team for us. Joelinton's having a better comeback than Lazarus, and take that, says Pablo. Andy Ali says, who would you say was the informed team at the moment, Holly? That's got to be a trick question, surely, to God.
Yeah, Newcastle all day, every day.
Tom Lynch says, The Athletic is well worth a subscription. Quality writing and reporting. George Culkin and Chris Woff, who cover Newcastle, are excellent. I just generally don't have time to sit and read stuff, and I don't subscribe to it, I've got to be honest. But you know, if there's anything you want to read, there's ways and means of getting it. Can Byrne play next week versus Brighton? He's our player now to 2020. If he was on loan, I would say there would have been an issue, but he's our player. We can do what we want. Target was an absolute warhorse yesterday. He was, Guy Push. You know, no doubt about it. I hope Marco Biel says interpreter will get some annual leave now, says Pablo Davies. It was no surprise to see him get the bullet, really, was it?
Not at all. And I think Newcastle actually doing so well in the league has caused a few teams to panic, because a few teams that thought, oh, we'll be okay, have been dragged really into it now. Everton's another team, so I think it will be that time where people are sacking managers, but it's a bit little too late for me.
Happy birthday, Holly. One more year till you can have a brown ale on Sky again, says Guy Brush.
Well, I've already been there and done that.
Paul says, hi, Steve, does this mean East Stand and Gallagher End get rebuilt? We don't know anything on that yet, mate. We really don't. Actually, you had some brown ale yesterday, didn't you, Holly?
Yeah, I did. I had a lovely brown ale stew. It was very nice.
Brown ale stew in first class on the train. There we go. Our fans on the boat were pure class, Michael. There's no doubt about it, mate. It looked great. Don't want to put a dampener on 7 games undefeated, but how you think players will react if we do lose a game, says Paul. I had plenty of practice before the 7 games unbeaten, Paul. I know what you mean. How you bounce back's key. It really is. But the results have gone our way, Holly, haven't they? As we've picked up results, the results have gone our way.
Yeah, because obviously, you know, you will be kind of still looking at those in and around you in the league, how they're doing. But as long as we're doing okay, then that's all we need to worry about. If we're winning games, then it doesn't really matter what the teams around us are doing. But yeah, a lot of results have gone our way, which is a positive, you know, because it helps us climb the league even more.
Andy Ali supports Wigan. I wish we had a podcast like this. Thank you very much, Andy. I had some great trips down there, mate. And you know, you gave us one of the best players in recent times in the Ashley era, Ryan Taylor, over the wall. Some great free kicks from that guy in a black and white shirt. So absolutely fantastic to see. To see you on here. Thanks for joining us. I did my PhD in Newcastle. He says it took me a year to understand the Geordie accent, and I'm from Lancashire. Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to. If you meet somebody who speaks slowly, Andy, it's okay. If you meet somebody who speaks quickly, obviously it's not so. But great place to study, mate. I hope you did well with your qualifications. Holly, what sort of players do you think we will go for in the summer, and where do you think we will need to strengthen, says Tom?
Strikers, 100%. Obviously, we tried our best in January, did well, you know, with what we could get, but ultimately it still isn't good enough. Obviously, with Callum Wilson, very injury prone. I think he's a great striker, but I don't think he's got a long-term future at Newcastle because, you know, he's never fit, unfortunately. When he is fit, he's good, but just, you know, it's not really good enough going forward. Chris Wood's obviously kind of struggling a little bit. I wouldn't really want him as the first choice on the bench, fair enough. But so I think striker's got to be the priority. I don't think we'll focus as much on the midfield. Obviously, we brought in Bruno, who's been fantastic, and I'd love to see us get Botman in, though. I think that's got to be the one signing that I'd love to see us get.
Be interesting to see, you know, who wants to come and who doesn't. Amanda said that Botman definitely wanted to come, so that could still be a goer. I'd still rather see somebody like Cody come in, I've got to be perfectly honest, but, you know, it's going to be an interesting summer. Newcastle in the Premier League will certainly want to get in players who are going to make an impression and just leave Eddie Howe and Steve Nixon to the job. As I say, Steve Nixon has obviously played his part alongside Eddie Howe, Jason Tindall, and Amanda Staveley, who said she used language that Eddie would have been shocked at hearing in numerous discussions on the phone, which I did have to laugh at. Joshua says, yes, he should walk back in. Murphy was absolutely useless yesterday. He offers little and is a champ quality. I wouldn't have said Murphy was useless. There's no doubt that ASM will give you more in a game, more excitement, more attacking option, but also a bit of frustration and lack of coming back. I thought Murphy did a good job yesterday. Holly, what about you?
Yeah, Jacob Murphy, he's another one that I think gets unfairly criticised on a regular basis, because I think with Murphy, fair enough, he's not the most skillful player that we've got, but whenever he comes back into the side, and he can be out of the side for a long period of time, he puts in the same effort every time he comes into that team. He tries, he works, he socks off, he runs, he's quite a fast player, and I think 9 out of 10 games he plays very well, and I can't fault him really against Brentford.
Tom Dixon says, Holly, who do you think will get relegated? It's so tight. Norwich, Watford and Leeds for me.
Yeah, I think it'll be the same, and I think Everton will probably finish 17th, which I'm gutted about because I would love to see Everton go down.
What did you make of the rumour that was circulating this morning about Rafa going to Leeds?
I didn't read that. If I'm being honest, I haven't really been on my phone much. I went out this morning, but I would say no. I don't think it's a good idea, because I think that obviously Rafa's had probably not the best of luck in his past few jobs. I think it didn't go the way it was planned at China, and then he came back to the Premier League. It went very, very bad at Everton, it's fair to say. I think that was always a bit of an odd appointment, but I just think it's a bit too soon to throw him back in, and I just don't think it'll do well. And I think Leeds is another club where there's probably going to be a bit of hostility, because I think there was such a positivity there. They got back to the Premier League, and then they haven't really hit it off in the way that they wanted to, I think.
To be honest, kebab wraps and gravy is belter, says John Joe. Terry McCarthy says he'll be eating that biscuits and gravy when he's in the USA next week. Vince says, gravy, kebab and chips.
It's just like a normal thing. I didn't think people ate that. Jeff
says, Holly, why not become a vegan?
It's not for me, Jeff. I mean, nothing wrong with being vegan, but I like steak and stuff too much.
Fans have wanted Linton to succeed since he came. Unfortunately, he was in the wrong position to succeed, says Gary McBurney. Hope you've never cooked a Sunday dinner, says John Joe. I'm not sure who that was aimed at. Great to hear about your mum getting better. Thank you, trolls. £35 million to buy Target.
I'd pay that.
There is no option. There is no option to buy Target, says Yano. Be interesting to see what happens. He's surely not going to want to go back to Villa and play second fiddle to somebody who's clearly not fit enough to lace his boots. Stephen Holly, do a hot ones challenge. Hit wings with varied strengths. Good idea, Tim. I'd be up for that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah. Lots of people saying good on news about me, ma'am. Thank you very much. Everton going down would be great, wouldn't it? We know them really as the Scouse Mackems, John Joe. I've got to be honest. And I think a lot of our fans wouldn't be too fussed at seeing them go down. There's other teams in the Premier League you'd prefer to see go down. I think Newcastle fans would love to see Aston Villa get relegated. Everton are one of those teams, I would say. Yeah. I don't think there'd be any tears shed over Leeds either. But I've got to be honest, I've enjoyed watching Leeds. I love the story of them coming up. I love Bielsa. I think he'd be a big miss for the Premier League, but just shows you it's a tough league. It's relentless. Happy birthday, Holly. It must be great to blow your candles out in one go. It takes me 2 days to blow mine out, says Alan. We need the fire brigade, Alan. That's what we need to put our candles out. Brentford manager, class at the end. He walked over and went along the line, shaking hands with all of our players. Then he turned and clapped the Newcastle fans.
That's really good. I didn't notice that, but that is brilliant.
Brown ale brewed along the road from Brentford in Reading, says Terry. Thank you for that information as well. James G says, go all out for Victor Oishman. God, I hope I've pronounced that right. Did I?
I don't know. I'm just as bad as you with pronouncing names.
Malta Whitty says, happy birthday, Holly. Thank you, Malta. Chelsea might lose a lot of players in the summer. They might lose quite a few things. You never know. Big Frank going down is a nice thought, says Jeff. Is it true that Abramovich has handed over the stewardship and care of Chelsea? Yes, to the trust within the charitable trust within the club, I think. It's just a sideways move, isn't it? Rafa is over the top, in my opinion, says Trolls. He's not going to Leeds. definitely not. I think they've already picked a manager, and Tom's nailed it here. I think looks like the American Jesse Marsh is going to Leeds, so he can be marshing on together. Maybe. See what I did there, Holly?
Yep, I did. Love it.
Great show again, and have a lovely evening for your birthday, Holly. And I will back up that sentiment. Have a great Chinese. Enjoy it. Don't let Dave put tomato sauce on it, Holly. And I will see you next week. Enjoy your birthday, pet. Take care.
Thank you.
Head back with the critics attack. It feels like I've been talking